Boom, guys, really know what it is. You know LT, aka TANKdGAMER. Now today we are going to be going over the patch notes for the DLC DAiMA Pack 1. So this is going to be launching around 11 to 12 p.m. Well, 11 to 12 a.m. I should say, for today, and that'll be for the UK time. For America, you'll be looking around like 6 p.m. so midday for you lot. Japan, obviously, as you can see, it says 7 to 8 a.m. so that'll be tomorrow, but obviously because of the time zones, technically today for them, right? So going off the changes and adjustments related to the game modes. Now, obviously, episode battle and custom battle, the only reason why they're changing is due to basically the whole system mechanic in the game. So they're just adjusting to say, yeah, cool, innit? Like, while you're playing this, then it's going to be recurring on these things modes as well. So that's all it really is. So changing the adjustments related to functions, battle rules. So the total DP in offline battles, player matches, TANKdGAMER battles, and training DP battles can now be selected from 10, 15, and 20. So that gives you the freedom to choose bigger teams or weaker teams depending on your preferences. So this is what they did in the old TANKdGAMER games, which I'm surprised they didn't have beforehand in the very start of the game, but yeah, cool, great. So character selection screen added the display switching function. So I'm not too sure if they're going to be bringing it back to how the TANKdGAMER, where you can actually see the icon of the character itself and kind of focus on that. But because a lot of the fans were complaining and saying they didn't like how the UI looked. But I don't really care too much about it, but it's an interesting change nevertheless. So optional, the sound quality of some fighting sounds can be switched. Now this has me interested to say that, are they changing the sound effects in terms of like when you vanish and it has a whole different thing, or are they just like translation in terms of some characters? Like, you know, for example, the dub for like what's his name, DAiMA Goku. I'm not too sure. I can imagine so, but we're gonna have to see what happens anyways. So changing the adjustments to the battle system. Now this part here, short dash, I wasn't too keen on it, but we're gonna have to see when the game actually drops the new update. But basically reduce the speed of the short dash backwards. That means that while you're flying backwards, you know what I mean, you're not going to be moving as fast, which is kind of a letdown in my behalf, because that kind of just nerfs it a little bit. So it's just probably a bit more, I don't know, but we're gonna have to see when the game drops. Shorten the stiffness of the time when activated dragon dash during short dash. So the stiffness of the short time during the dragon dash means you can kind of chain a lot more moves together. So that means that it's going to be more beneficial while you're using it, so you can cancel and code into different movements and stuff like that. So that's going to be a great addition added to the game. And then you have high speed dragon dash. The reception time for advanced input has been adjusted so that it's easy to connect with rush fights when arriving near the opponent. So that means that the reception, wait, let me just read it again. The reception time for the advanced impact has been adjusted so it's easier to connect with rush fights when arriving near the opponent. So that means that after using your dragon dash, can you cancel into your attacks more easier? I believe that's the case, what they're trying to refer to. So reduce the time required to charge to the maximum and smash melee during high speed dragon dash. So that just means that you can get more knockbacks faster, and you don't have to kind of, but then again, that's a bit weird. Why would you reduce the time required to charge the max speed? Because the whole point of that, I feel, was that because your opponent didn't know when you was going to let go, so it kind of throwing them off, right? But now they've reduced it, they kind of technically nerfed it indirectly, because that means that if you're using it now, you have less time for your opponent. So your opponent knows he's going to be in this pattern of window while you're going to be, you know, breaking them. You know what I mean? You're going to be hitting the knockback, so they know when to teleport in that time frame. I'm not going to say it's going to be easier, but it is easier. You know what I mean? It's going to be able to dodge it once your opponent knows the timing down. So they indirectly nerfed that. Okay, but a bit weird. Z-burst dash, to reduce the amount of energy consumed when activated and change the specification to consume energy according to the distance traveled after activation. So I believe they basically tried making it like how it was beforehand. So when you use Z-burst dash, it just takes less ki, so you don't have to waste a whole 2 bar ki, because that was ridiculous. Because when you get knocked back, most of the time you ain't got 2 bars ki, so your opponent just is able to instant spark right in your face. Well, not right in your face, but you know, on the other side of the map. Melee attacks in general increase the amount of energy recovery when hit. So that means that, well, if you're beating the ass in the opponent, he's going to be able to get his ki back faster, which is not something I'm too pleased about, but it is what it is. Adjust the attack to make it harder for the opponent to shift the different direction of the attack immediately after using the step. Now, I don't think this needed nerfing at all. I think this is a bit dumb, because that basically means that if you step in, you can't kind of, you know what I mean, like mentally fuck up your opponent, because now it's like, you know what I mean, you have a reduced time window for you to be able to attack that. So I'm not really too keen about it. If anything, they should have adjusted how fast you can block in terms of what direction your opponent is attacking. That would have made more sense. But reducing the time it's kind of like you're forced to attack your opponent. So they're making you play more aggressive, but then at that same time you're probably making more mistakes as well. So I'm not too keen on that. Rushing, fix the phenomenon when rushing from rush into rush fighting, some guards were pinched. So I believe that means that, for example, when you're hitting them and then you do like the 3 strings and they're able to kind of block on the last string. So they've fixed that now. I guess I was kind of cool with that because there was ways to get around it. Like, for example, you would kind of bait your opponent into like sidestep because they knew they could kind of block that. So it is what it is, but I guess more opponents are going to get their arse beat down, innit? So rush duration, Son Goku's secret for self. This is Ultra Instinct, by the way, they're referring to. Ultra Instinct and Wiz can now activate rush duration even when rush fighting is being automatically avoided. So rush deviation, I think that's super perception. So in other words, they're saying that you can use it while they're evasive. So they made him stronger in that aspect, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Wiz is gonna be cracked. Smash fighting, adjusted to make the connection smoother when using smash fighting during rush fighting. So that means that you can do your smash attacks faster, and it gets less interrupted. They tried changing that before, but then they made it to a point when you was attacking, you'd accidentally basically use your smash moves and it would just kind of mess up your own combos. So hopefully they get this right now. Rush key bullet, reduce the amount of damage, so they've nerfed the attack how much your key moves do. Enhance the correction, that reduces the amount of damage when hit continuously, so the fall off damage is increased, so it's decreased as well. So if you keep spamming that, it's not going to do as much damage. Alright, so smash key bullet, reduce the amount of damage of the spread type smash key bullet. So that's referring to like players like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, where he uses that shotgun key move. So they reduced the damage on that, so they technically nerfed him in that sense away. Son Goku's selfish secret, so this is Ultra Instinct referred to, and sign. The smash key bullet can now be repelled, so that is energy blast they're referring to. If that is the case, then that's crazy, because that's what a lot of players were getting away with. Increase the energy consumption for non-guardable smash key bullets, and increase the stiffness time after firing. So yeah, they just nerfed him in that sense of avenue. Identification, so this is perception, right? So it is no longer possible to judge while the guard is rigid. So for example, when you were hitting your opponent and they were able to kind of just use the super perception inside of it, so they've kind of stopped that. The perception time for the pursuit after successful identification has been relaxed. Wait, it's identification, that might be, I don't think it's revenge counter, it's definitely perception. Maybe it'd be just normal perception or so. Okay, increase the energy consumption at the moment of activation here, so definitely we're on to the subject of perception. Increase the skill slot required to use it against smash fighting and rush deviations from 1 to 2. To use it against smash fighting and rush deviation, you can't use the perception against rush deviation. That's super perception. The super perception, you're bobbing and weaving and stuff. That's what I believe that's referring to, right? Unless we're on some whole different thing, but I believe that's it. So if you guys understand what that's trying to say in that text, let me know in the comment box below. It'd be great. Super discernment, the buff effect when playing blast has been revised upwards. I'm not too sure what they're referring to as the super discernment. Effect size increase, effect time extension. When playing blast, a small amount of energy is restored. Maybe that's talking about when you knock the fireballs away, because if that's the case, then that makes more sense, because realistically, when you knock the fireball away, there's not really that much, benefits in doing so, because you're stuck in a frame where you're kind of like, your opponent has a chance to still attack you. So if they are buffing that, then that's great, but if not, I'm not too sure. Blast, reduce the amount of damage when hitting blast and ultimate blast while the combo is continuing. So it just means that obviously the more you combo with them, the less likely you to hurt them when you use an ultimate and stuff in a combo. Reduce the amount of damage when hit by a blast in a row. So that means that, for example, you using a super into an ultimate, that's going to nerf that sense of aspect. Auto reflect, only character with DP 7 or higher can now auto reflect during sparking. That's kind of crazy. People are going to complain about that. I already know. I mean, I understand what they're trying to say is make the characters who are DP7 stronger, but most of the time, to nerf the character, to counter out these characters that tend to just go into instant sparking, do a lot of key spamming, and anything like that, we kind of want this to occur for like DP5, so we can actually stand a chance. So now that they've nerfed weaker characters, for example, I used DBS Goku, right? Base. So now it's going to be harder to technically go up against characters that are stronger in DP7, especially if they're using sparking and things like that. It's not really giving you any sort of way. But I guess if they're nerfing some key moves, it might be more beneficial, but I don't know. But yeah, I can imagine some people will complain about that. Others, only the first line of energy has increased the automatic recovery speed. So maybe it goes faster while you're in like negative energy, and it goes up to 1 bar, and you know, and as soon as it goes past 1, it just reduces its speed down and kind of goes slower to kind of get to the 2nd bar. Maybe that's what we're referring to, or maybe the 2nd bar is just normal as itself, but obviously the first one's just faster, right? Adjusted the behavior of the camera during battles between normal sized characters and giant characters. Thank God that needed to be fixed. Adjusted the game so that the throws is less likely to explode during mid-air combos during classic operation. I don't know what I mean by explode. Yeah, I don't know what I mean by explode. Adjust the time until it becomes possible to take a turn. Maybe that's talking about you're in more negative frames in the game, but it's a bit weird to kind of, because you're not referring to what they're talking about. Okay, changing and adjusted skills. While since after image and after image strike, which is the after image fist, I believe, and other skills that automatically dodge the opponent attack, is designed to be released if it is determined while the effect is activated. So example, I think with after image strike, it has a window of I think 10 or 15 seconds. I think it's 10 seconds, and if you are not able to get it out in that 10-15 seconds, it probably just gets nerfed, or where you can't actually use it again, you have to activate it again, which is kind of crazy. I feel they should have just left it as it is. I don't use any of these moves really, but the fact while since it's easy to counter, like as soon as your opponent uses it, you know you can just dodge it, and that costs like I think 2 skill points, which is expensive. To know that you're going to use wild sense but you're going to get punished directly, you're using it just to get punished directly is kind of pointless. But yeah, Kale, Cry of Anger, they needed to nerf this. This is that move when she kind of stuns you and you get locked in, and you can just spam her supers straight away. That was really way too fast. It needs to be changed. Adjusting and modifying the blast. Unguardable blasting and explosive waves in general increase the speed of expansion of the area of effect. Okay, unguardable blasting, that might be a bit crazy, especially like with Kefla's move. That's pretty much just buffing Kefla to the fullest. Unguardable blasting and explosive waves in general. Actually, then again, you can block her move, but her explosive wave in general, I guess, is not really buffing in that sense way, because unguardable would be like Jiren's move. They made it slow before, but are they speeding it up now to make it harder to dodge when they nerfed it originally because people complained about it? But I don't know. I thought it was fine at first. Explosive wave in general, I mean, it's cooler to have it bigger, but again, I don't think it needs to change it much. Blasting of air bullets in general, increase the amount of damage. So air bullets in general, so that might be like your, you know, with Vegeta's technique, it might be that. But what they really should have done is, for example, when you're doing that Vegeta's technique, use it to be able to use all your ki and just keep throwing out until you're empty if you wanted to, you know what I mean? They should have done that, because personally I think it's kind of useless, you know, especially when you're wide open. So if they was allowing you to be able to kind of just use all your ki at once, you know, and just keep going for a long period of time, that would be pretty cool. But I don't think they adjusted that, because they just increased the amount of damage it does. But fair enough. Future Trunks final flash increased in energy consumption and damage. Okay, great. So I believe it might be 2 bars, and it's probably now 3. Super Trunks finish buster increased the amount of damage. Okay. And then with Sympathy for Destruction, which needed to be nerfed, this move was so annoying because you couldn't actually dodge your opponent if they tripped you over. But now I believe they're trying to address that by saying high speed avoidance is now possible. But I think that was possible in the first place, but I think when you get tripped over, that's when it wasn't. So while you're standing up and Wiz does it, you can dodge it, but I think when you tripped you over, it wasn't possible to dodge. So if they addressed that and they've actually corrected it, then that's great, because people were getting free hits just from tripping you over and doing like 10k damage on you. Like, that was just ridiculous for when people are playing as Wiz. Character adjustment and changes. Huge characters in general reduce the amount of damage in rush and smash fights, so that means they are nerfed in that department. Increase the stiffness time when rush fighting and smash fighting are empty. What? Increase the stiffness when rushing. So they've made him slower, in other words, I think, when this is final empty. So I think they just made it slower. Oh, wait. Rush fighting. Well, smash fighting, I refer to that. So when you build up your damage and your attacks, obviously it comes out faster when it's up, but when obviously if you haven't dealt any damage, it takes longer, right? So maybe they just made it longer to hit your heavy hits, which is stupid. I think giants should get a lot of I think it should be fast for them because they're big in it. Increase the amount of damage taken by melee attacks. So increase the amount of damage taken by melee attacks. That means they're going to get hurt a lot more, and they have less armor properties for them. Reduce the short dash speed backwards. So I'm not too sure how they're nerfing this reduced speed backwards, but it seems like they want to get rid of this. So Master Roshi, Hercule, and Yajirobe decrease the speed of energy recovery, which I find is kind of unfortunate for them because I thought that was the best part with those characters, that they can get energy faster. Androids in general that ultimately recover energy during Z counters, the automatic recovery of energy is stopped. So not sure how I feel about that, but I guess they're just making it so that androids aren't too overpowered, right? Androids in general during the Z search, cancelling the silhouette is not visible to the opponent. That should have been there from the start because the androids shouldn't be able to sense them in the first place. Son Goku's secret selfish, that's Ultra Instinct, is saying it's increased the cooldown time when trying to shoot a smash key bullet again after a smash key bullet, so therefore you'll not be able to spam it as much. Dr. Wheelo reduced the maximum skill stock, so they are making him really irrelevant right now. Nappa decreased physical strength, Raccoon decreased physical strength, and Spopovic decreased physical strength because these characters are weak anyways compared to the rest of the cast, right? So they shouldn't be doing that much damage what they're doing, but fair enough. Gogeta Super Saiyan Blue reduced the damage amount of the smash key bullet and reduced homage performance. I didn't think Super Saiyan Blue was the problem. SS4 Gogeta was the one that everyone was kind of, you know what I mean, targeting, saying that his moves are crazy damage. And then again, I guess when you charge it up, he actually, yeah, you're right. Blue does a lot of damage. Let's be honest, it does a lot of damage. Alright, cool, fair enough. Hirudegarn. Fix the phenomenon that the rush fighting hits even if the opponent is guarding. I think that might be his super he's referring to, because if it's just normal rushing, that's kind of crazy. It could be. We'll have to find out. And other, My Skyleg. Adjust the hit position. I don't know what My Skyleg is, but you get your position adjusted, okay? Thrown through. So I think this is the break throws. Adjust the phenomenon of the camera switching momentarily when activated to make it less likely to occur. Usability and operation stability have been improved, and this update requires online play. Okay, great. So that's the patch notes we'll be receiving later on today. If you guys have any opinions upon what you see and what I've gone over, please let me know in the comment box below. I would love to kind of go over it with you guys. Let me know what you think as well and stuff like that. There's a few things I'm not too happy with, and there's a few things I'm kind of cool to see happen in the game. But anyways, guys, you already know what it is. You know LT, aka TANKdGAMER. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Let's get it. Bow. We out.